So I guess we can start with just a quick round of introductions. We are the co-founding team from Dragon Snacks Games. We are a full remote team, even though everyone got their start somehow here in Maryland, because all roads lead back to micro-pros at the end of the day, basically. So do you want to start, Chris?
Sure. So I'm Chris Nemcosky. I go by Nemco. It's my last name, shortened, sounds like Namco. I promise it's not as pretentious as it sounds. It was sort of given to me by other people, and I liked it, so it stuck. I started off at Big Huge Games, working on Rise of Nations, Rise of Legends, did the expansion pack for Age of Empires 3, the Asian Dynasties, did the Xbox version of Settlers of Catan, met Jen working on Kingdoms of Amalur, went to Baltimore, released Cityville 2 with Michelle, got a little spooked by all of the studio closures in the Baltimore area at the time, went west, joined up with Backflip Studios, where I developed the game Dragonvale for mobile, as well as Paper Toss and Ninjump. Did that for a while, got contacted by Scopely, built out the team that made Monopoly Go, decided that that was cool, but I really wanted to work on RPGs again, and that's where I decided to, talk to Michelle and Jen, and it turns out we want to do the same thing.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Michelle Menard. I got my start in the industry almost 20 years ago at Firaxis, as you do, and I actually started in production, but terrible producer, so that didn't go very well. Moved over to writing and the design. That was all fun. Worked on Civ 5, XCOM, and a few other things that never saw the light of day over there. Left to go to Zynga East because that had just recently started up, and Facebook was really just coming into its own at the time. This was way back in 2011, and it was cool and interesting, new and different. And so I went and did that for a few years. And yep, Chris joined a few years after that. We shipped City 2, Frontierville, The Ville. And what was the other one? Oh, Kingdoms and Quests, which was the RPG one that, again, never saw the light of day outside of Philippines, because that's how game dev is. Poor games. Actually did my own thing for a while, ran my own consulting firm, working with a lot of companies, actually outside the United States for the most part, doing a little bit of system design, but out of the weirdest things too, making their pitch decks for them and basically helping them do all that. It was very weird. Went to Oxide Games, where I was the design director for about 7-ish years, worked on Aura History Untold. Left there about, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And had no idea what I wanted to do. Actually, on a whim, drove to Ohio to go see the solar eclipse so I could stare at the sun and figure out what I'm doing with my life. So, highly recommend. It was important. And then, called him, I want to do something different. And so, again, same idea.
Yeah. I'm Jen MacLean. I was born in Baltimore, went to Hopkins undergrad. Bizarrely, was on the fencing team, and ended up as a playtester at Microprose because my fencing coach was also a playtester at Microprose. And then went and did online games at AOL back when we were still dial-up, and playing online games meant you heard beep, 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 beep. And then did a whole bunch of other stuff in the games industry, including working with Big Huge Games on Reckoning. Went and spent 5 years at Big Tech and Amazon and Microsoft. Do not recommend. And most recently was at Xbox, where my team ran their largest third-party partnerships. So companies like EA, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Riot, Roblox, about $4 billion worth of annual revenue. Decided that success was not, in fact, helping EA sell another 100,000 units of Football Club and making rich people richer. And also decided that I wanted to do something that I was really proud of. And so ended up starting a studio with these two.
Yeah, so here we are. We decided not to prepare a boring-ass presentation because I don't really want to talk at you guys for an hour, so rather, we've got a couple of talking points that we think are important to bring up, but otherwise, please, if there are things you actually have questions for or want to know about now, just ask. I think we'd all rather this be a conversation all with us than us just spouting nonsense. So please, honestly, at this point, if you guys want to talk about anything in particular, just shout it out, raise your hand, whatever it is. Otherwise, we'll start just extemporaneously speaking about how does pitching work, what do you need to prepare, what kinds of pitches are you pitching to VCs versus angels versus publishers, because they're all different. You cannot just have one-size-fits-all thing. Yeah. Cool. Silence. Excellent. All right, cool.
Yeah, go for it.
Absolutely. Riding off of the coattails of that aforementioned, I was wondering if you could go into the logistics of what it's like pitching between both investors and VCs. And then really quick sub-question for you, Michelle. Not Michelle. I was wondering, specifically when you were fencing. What sort did you run?
I was foil. Nemco is epee.
Oh, that's awesome. So my sister was epee. I did a little bit of savor, so I was just curious.
Very cool. And I don't sports. Yeah, so I can talk about publishers if you want to talk about investors. 'Cause that's definitely-
Excellent. You want to start with publishers and I'll do investors?
Okay. Yeah, so with publishers, because I've done, like, obviously we pitched our stuff and we have money, yay. But I did a lot of pitching for Oxide and then for those aforementioned companies where I worked as a consultant, and most of them were for publishers. And it kind of depends, which is going to be a really shitty answer, but there's either going to be, you've already been approached by a publisher, or you have a publishing deal because you're a studio that's co-owned by someone. That doesn't mean you get to do whatever the fuck you want. You still have to pitch to them ideas. Or they're going to tell you what they want, which is one kind of pitch. Or there's the, I'm going to go cold call people and just hope to God I can find money. This one, they're both different. I can talk about both if you care, or if you care about one more.
Absolutely.
Both. All right. So for the one where you're owned, or you already have an existing relationship, you already even be told exactly what they want, which is going to be something like a genre or a market hole that they have in their portfolio. They usually aren't going to come to you with a fully fleshed out idea because that's not their job. But instead they'll say things like, hey, this is our lineup coming up for like the next 3-4 years, and then we've noticed that we don't have anything in, like, say, the simulation market space. Based on your team's performance and what you do well, we need a simulation title. What do you have? And at that point you really should have something. Like, usually at this point you'd want to have like 4 or 5 kind of game ideas just sitting, and you'd be like, oh, here you go, I have them ready to go, how would you like me to pitch them to you? And so there's already that relationship there where they know what your team can do, and you then provide them the idea, the specifics of that. So that's one way to do it. Sometimes they will come down to be like, I need this exact kind of genre space thing. That's fine too. Other times you pitch up to them. This is what happened at Zynga a lot, where when it came time to make a new game, after, let's say, Frontier was getting a little old in the tooth, we decided to ship it off to headquarters in San Francisco, and they took it over, which then meant the studio here needed to do something new. And yeah, it was basically like pitching a new game. Like, the leadership thought around, like, this is the kind of game we want to make. We have to build a prototype and pitch it up to headquarters to see if it's something that interests them. It wasn't. Long story short, we ran it for about a year, and finally their marketing department was like, no, I don't understand it. So they shut it down. We're an Eternal Studio, and so this still happens in Eternal Studios. And then they actually came back and were like, well, we need someone to build City 2. And the team who runs City up in Boston, they're busy doing something else. So actually, could you guys build City 2? So that, in that case, it was very much like, this is what you're building. I'm like, yay. So it was fine. On the other hand, so if you're going with the other one where you're just like an independent studio and you're trying to find a publisher, it's then on you to basically do a mountain fuck-tuck of market research. Like, oh my God, that is what you need to do first before you do anything else. Like, what is your team capable of building? What is the market needing? Where is the hole in the market space? Where is the demand? And do these match? And then find a publisher that matches that portfolio where you're like, because you don't want to just like blanket shoot at everything, because then you don't look like you know what you're doing. And you're not going to get good responses. So then it's then more about finding that market niche that you're like, I can perform a job here, and I know there is demand for it. I know there is money to be made here. Because the last thing you want to do, which is what I tell like my juniors and students sometimes, is don't make the game you want to make. I'm sorry. If you're running this as a business, no one gives a flying fuck about the game you want to make. It's about the game the market will bear and where it'll make money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Investors. Yeah, investors. So there are different categories of investors. There's angel investors, there are institutional investors, there are strategic investors. So angel investors are private investors. They have a certain net worth or annual income, so they have to be qualified investors. It's a legal requirement, essentially making sure you don't bilk your grandmother out of her last savings or whoever. And they are usually going to invest either because they know you and they trust you and they want to support you, kind of friends and family, or because they know the market space really, really well and they agree with you that there is an opportunity for what you want to do in the market. If they are investing in you because they know you and they like you, generally your deck is not going to matter all that much. It might get them to write a slightly larger or slightly smaller check, but it's really kind of a formality. If they are investing in you because they know the market really well and they think that you are onto something, then your deck really does matter. And you can usually use the same deck that you are going to use for your institutional investor. But you do kind of want to know what is important to your angel. For just as Michelle said with the publisher, you want to know what is important to your publisher. You want to know what is is important to your investor as well. In general, for an institutional investor, you do not want the front part of your deck to be longer than 12 slides, ever. And this is direct feedback I have heard from multiple institutional investors. And it's really hard because your impulse is going to be like, I want to pour everything that makes me really, really, really cool and awesome into your deck. Do not do that. Your investment deck needs to answer 3 questions really clearly and concisely. Why this? Why now? Why you? So why this idea? Why does it need to be done right now? And why are you the right team to do it? And depending on kind of how you want to structure the idea or how to structure the deck, usually it should be why you, like especially if you have a really strong founding team. And depending on the platform you use, you can actually see how many seconds people spend on different slides. We have a strong founding team. We tend to get a lot of seconds on our founding team slide. We also, so why this? What do we bring to, for the founding team, what do we bring that gives us some sort of secret insight or special advantage that other people don't have? Why this? What is it about our idea that makes it stand out from all of the other potential opportunities a VC gets pitched? Your average VC gets pitched about 300 ideas a month. They usually make, I guess from the people that I've talked to, they make between 5 and 10 investments a year. So that kind of gives you an idea of how few pitches make it to the investment stage. And then why now? So why is there urgency from the institutional investor to make this one of the 5 or 10 ideas a year they're going to invest in? That is probably the most difficult thing to articulate. Like, what is there to make them say, this has to make the cut right now? And it's hard. It's really, really hard to articulate that point. You can have an appendix where you put in other slides. Your appendix shouldn't be super long either, frankly, because it's almost like if you have to take another slide, 20 slides to justify this, then maybe it's not actually as good an idea as you think it is. Strategics, very similar, like why you this, why this, why now? And again, kind of gets back to no more than 12 slides up front. Probably don't want to make the appendix much longer either.
I'll see if I can come up with some tactical suggestions from the trenches, because those are really excellent overviews. The first is to keep in your mind, if you're talking to investors, not a sort of traditional game publisher, they're not gamers. So they don't understand if you go into the game mechanics or, oh, this is why we're better, or we're this plus this, over their head. They want to know what is the hole in the marketplace that you are going to exploit to get them lots of money. We're gamers, right? We think in terms of games, we think in terms of gameplay, we think of something's rather fun. They largely don't get that. So it's a very different way of thinking when you're making a pitch deck for someone who's purely an investor and not a publisher. Another one, we've had an inordinate amount of success by carrying around Steam decks. Mm-hmm. So when we're at conferences and we just have those like, oh, we bump into someone or someone's talking and you sort of insert yourself, which is hard, right? Fortunately, we have a Jen who is not shy to strike up conversations. If you can hand them, something that's portable and have them play the software immediately, we've seen it change the conversation instantly, because they're so used to people being like, I've got this great idea for a game, or I've got this thing, and it's all words. But you hand them something without having to set up a big tower or a console or pay the money to have a private booth. You hand them a Steam Deck or a ROG or whatever you have and be like, play it. Tell me what you think. It immediately changes the conversation. You're serious, you have software, and they are playing it right then and there.
And you can execute, because honestly, especially if they don't know who you are, if you don't have those pre-existing connections, they don't know you. They don't have reason to trust you. As far as they know, you just want to steal their money and walk away into vaporware. And for a lot of things, that is exactly what happened over COVID. Vaporware. And so, it's showing them, even if it's not exactly perfect, if it's not exactly polished, there was execution and it is playable imminently right there in their hands. And that's actually, I guess, a good point too, is that pitching now isn't about the deck anymore. It's about the playable, unfortunately, which really freaking sucks on a lot of hands. Because it used to be, you could literally walk into a boardroom or a hotel room at a conference, because it all happens in hotel rooms and you're sitting on a bed and it's really skeezy as all fuck, but that's how it goes down. It's really weird. I wish that we could get a room. It's so weird. And then, like, you just have like a PowerPoint, and you're like, give me $60 million. And they said, okay. Like, I've signed a $60 million project with a 50-image slide deck. There was nothing playable. Like, give me money. And they're like, this sounds good. Okay, like, that was bad due diligence. That will never happen again. Now it's like you need a deck to get like, your foot in the door, but then immediately they want to see a playable, and they don't want to talk to you until you have something.
So the goalpost is moved from
Yes.
just pitch to then also to prototype.
Yeah.
For context, my interpretation of what happened, right, it's my own, is, we hit lockdown and COVID. All of a sudden, there's a spike in everyone playing video games. Investors who weren't traditionally going to invest in video games are like, oh my gosh, it's the next big thing. They didn't know what they were doing, because again, they're not gamers. People with slick presentations, sell them on an idea for tens of millions of dollars. It doesn't pan out, and now everyone's gun shy about further investment. So they're like, oh, well, we just want to invest in something that's almost done and a sure thing. And I'm like, well, who doesn't? But that's sort of the situation we're in now, unfortunately.
There was this amazing quote on LinkedIn. Somebody was like, oh, if you're a game that's complete and already has market traction, I'm willing to invest in you. And somebody who was made a fantastic snarky remark along the lines of, I too would like to invest in a game that is finished and is showing market traction. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it was amazing. I think the other thing too is that people, like, there were a lot of investments made in former Blizzard, former Riot teams. And I say this with love. My husband works at Riot. Most people who have worked at Riot suck as founders, to be blunt. Most people who have worked at Blizzard suck as founders. And there is a really big difference between being successful at a company like Riot or Blizzard and being good at founding a company. Because when you are successful at a team that is running a product that makes $1 billion a year, you need very different skill sets than being successful when you are thinking, how do I get this thing done as cheaply and as quickly as possible? Because, man, we don't have a lot of money in the bank.
So I have a question about that. Like, can you guys talk about coming from AAA, right? Like, what reflexes have you had to unlearn to do this? Like, what are you doing wrong coming from AAA?
I can go first,
Go
but I
for
don't
it.
want to hog
Go for
it.
it.
Yeah, so I've multi-classed my whole career between production and engineering. And a lot of the sort of production, like go-to playbook sort of stuff is just, it's very different at 100 or several hundred person company than it is a small team. With a small team, if you're doing daily stand-ups and you have good communication, you have a shared vision, you kind of know what's going on. You don't really need a lot of the production processes, which I still struggle with. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, no, I want to do something, but it's not really necessary. It's just going to get in the way. It's not worth the cost. So pulling back on that and my own personal comfort level was, being like, okay, it's okay to meet once for 30 minutes a day and align the team and play the game. That is sufficient for most of the raw production stuff. We still do sprints, but it's okay. The other thing that's crazy, there was
You're
an earlier.
so funny because you're so pained at that.
Well,
You're
like
so obviously
over
pained.
20 years of being like, this is the way, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's 7 people. I really don't need to pull them in a meeting to align on this thing. It's like, but yeah, it's like it is a habit you have to give up, and just knowing like, hey, when is something going off the rails, and just stepping in as needed. Playing the game every day, I think, is super important. We're a fully remote team. I have 30 minutes allocated for stand-up, which if you're like a hardcore by the scrum person, that's 15 more minutes than you're supposed to. But as a remote team, there is no coffee machine that everyone's hanging out with or water cooler. So if it does fold into a 30 minutes and we're talking about the movies we saw over the weekend, I think that's inordinate. It's like super important to like get that bonding. As the team gets bigger, I'll have to monitor and be like, at what point is this like there's actually too many people and this is now being viewed by the team as a waste of time? But I certainly savor that. I love that, we're just jaw-jacking for 15 minutes and feeling like we're really part of something even though we're a totally remote team. But yeah, for me, it was knowing when to give up the things that you absolutely need for a large team and just let it ride and trust the people and just make sure that you're monitoring for it going off the rails and course correct, but you don't have to like set up processes to make sure everyone's aligned. It sort of happens a little more organically.
Let's say, I guess from on my standpoint, I had to unlearn how to not just be manager anymore. Because like when we worked together, I was just doing management leaders. I wrote nominally some documents, but then mostly just sat in meetings all day long, making sure the ship wasn't going too far off the course, and most of the time screaming at people to get back on the fucking track, and not actually doing much outside of that. And so having to step back from that role a bit, because I still am nominally, I guess, the CD on the project, I don't know. But the team is only 7-8 people. Like, it's tiny, so I actually have to do design work, which on one hand is really fun, but on the other, it's, having to now manage that whole, vision holding, actually doing trench work, and then also just trusting people to do shit, which isn't, I don't have too much of a trouble with that, but there is a lot of, hey, does this need to be fully fleshed out as, what it is in my head right now? I would really like it if it was. That's okay that it's not, because, one of our engineers is hey, I can, I see your spec, I can get it up to about here in 3 days. If you want this chunk, I'm thinking another 2 weeks. And it's fine, do this version of it first. And God, it hurts because but you can see the entire vision in your head, but I want it. But then our sprints are only 2 weeks. Then you've got him being is it really worth it? I'm is it worth it in my head? But so yeah, kind of learning to de-scope everything even immediately upon get-go, make it the smallest possible thing it needs to be to exist. And sometimes it's you know what, actually this is all it needed to be. When other times you're no, I know I'm justified. I do need this other 2 week, and so we can all discuss it instead of guys, I do think we need to spend the time and put the effort in now, but we at least gave this a room to breathe first. And same thing with art too, Steve, Steve, he's very good at scoping down, and he's this is the version you're getting this week. Yeah. Are you happy? I am happy. Oh, you're not? Well, I can give you this version next week. Are you happy now? Oh, cool, we can now leave and move on with their lives. So just understanding, there are, I hate this word, quality bars that AAA will put up here and here and here, and when you're indie, no, don't ignore all of this. Figure out what your team can do and deliver in a reasonable budget and time, and just make sure everyone agrees, because it's really just getting team alignment that this is the actual quality bar, because everyone on the team came from AAA, right?
Yep.
For the most part. So yeah, teaching the team that, no, we're not here.
Can you talk more about that? Because that, getting aligned on what, because you're talking about, low management style, giving up some of that control to your team, so they can do it. How do you guys stay aligned? I mean, 30 minutes a day is great, but if you don't agree, you're not getting worked out in that meeting.
This is true.
Playing the game. You have to play the game together over chat and listen to what the team is saying and be oh, this is really bothering someone, and then being okay, let's talk about it right here while we're playing game. This is why we're doing this. This is the expectation. Pre-production is a very interesting thing with a small team. There was a talk earlier where it was talking about horizontal scaling. You might not have enough people to horizontally scale. So you have to pick your battles, what is the most important thing? My gambit is that it's all about gameplay. It's all about gameplay and service to the user. And you can get yourself into a really difficult situation if you polish too quickly and the game's not fun. Because you can start polishing things, and you add particle effects, and you add sounds, and it feels really good, but it's not built on something that's sustainable in the long term. And I have made that mistake in game development. But it's really tempting to polish it, because you're oh, I'm putting it in front of people who aren't gamers, or I really want to do this. But the experience of the user and the gameplay always wins. And so, whatever you can do to experience that, do that, even if it's not, you're okay, well, we don't have as many animators as we want. How can we get this feel without it? And play it as a team, and look for those moments where someone's not aligned, and have a conversation as a team while you're playing the game together.
Yeah, and I guess that's actually part of it too, is that with a more larger team, larger studio, you have asset lists very early on. You know exactly what you need to do to build and stuff, and fuck all that. There is no asset list. There is a very loosey-goosey art schedule, which has buckets of 5 enemies get made this week. What are they? Fuck if I care. I don't know. The ones you need at that point. And so it's learning to be very, very messy almost, because it is. It's we'll play the game that conversation kind of sucked. Paul rewrite it this afternoon. He's got it. Man, I really wish we had a different item drop. And Matt's I can make it. And we're cool, go do that. So it's just really that, true kind of agile, with Ryan Reynolds, it was wall of pain is what he called it, where he would basically play the game every morning, write down what he was pissed about, and then that was your task list. And it's, that's where I got it from.
You got a less toxic version of that, maybe?
Yes! Wall of gameplay needs, but
because it isn't come hell or high water by end of day.
Yeah.
It's more hey, do we agree that this is the priority? For example, the engineering team, if we have some serious bugs, I call it engineering Voltron, where we're full down into one giant engineering group too, and we're we're going to attack these because we got to fix them, because it's blocking our progression in our group playtests, and that can't stand. That's a really important thing.
So you'll reorient the the whole team to
The whole sprint
to
sometimes.
one thing.
Like,
and
yeah.
just work out.
Because
Yeah.
we'll do sprint planning on Friday, and I think the fastest was the Monday we threw it out the window. It was pretty bad. Like, well,
Poor Lucian in the back there is like, oh no. But again, like, it's always in service of the players
Yeah.
and experiencing the game. Like, that's what matters as a small team. And if you keep that in mind, you should be able to adapt. What's dangerous, and another habit that I had to break. Oh, yeah, it's Jen.
I'm gonna say yes and no, because one of the things that you all have been really great about that I'm super appreciative of is it's also in service of getting money.
Yes.
Because that's important, frankly. So, like, we had a super hard line that we are going to take a vertical slice to Gamescom, no matter what.
this is true.
And everybody really pulled together around that. And that was important for a whole bunch of reasons. Like, we were able to say at Gamescom with a straight face, we did this with a team of 6 in 6 months. And it was really fucking good. And I was super proud of that. I think we all were. And it required compromises, it required trade-offs, but we were able to deliver on that. And so, yeah, it had good gameplay, and we had fun playing it. And it set us up well. But also, were there things we would have loved to have had in it? Yeah, sure, of course. But everybody understood the importance and was willing to do it. And one of the things that we aligned on is that every quarter we're going to have a new type of playable build. So our next one is our first-time user experience. We're kind of aligned. That's going to be February or March. Hopefully February.
Yeah.
It's tracking for February. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Which is going to be important for us going out and raising more money, right? And that, again, is something where, for me, as kind of the businessy person, I am really grateful that I have partners here where I'm like, hey, this is why I think it's really important from a business perspective that we do this. And I know that I have Chris and Michelle's support in being able to do that.
And on that note, it's lovely that we have a business person dedicated to just fundraising,
Yeah.
because I can't imagine having to like build game and business
Yeah.
at the same time. Like, that sounds like a massive hell of no sleep and just like mental exhaustion. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Too rough.
Well, there was a hand back here first. Are you good? Or?
Yeah, this is gonna sound weird, but my question is, why would anyone invest in a game? Because my understanding all along has been it's like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20 make their money back, maybe break even. No, so maybe I'm totally wrong, and I'm hoping you can tell me where I'm wrong, because that math doesn't work to me.
It is a really good question. And the way that we answer that is we have an unfair advantage that most people don't have. And so kind of the way that we position ourselves is this man led the dev team that shipped a little game called Monopoly Go, $5 billion in revenue. One of the ways we came up with our idea is I saw all of the data for all third-party games on Xbox and all first-party games on Xbox, as well as all of the data for every Game Pass game. It's a little bit of an unfair advantage there. And I was able to say, like, one of the reasons why I approached Chris and Michelle is because I said, you know what? I am seeing what people are playing when they leave Minecraft and Roblox and where they go. And I saw this really big market opportunity. And that is a big unfair advantage.
But
And
I think you're right, because like what you're saying is like games are content, and VCs ain't fucking investing in content. You are not getting
Right.
VCs to sign jack fuck all right now.
Yeah.
Like they're not.
and so
Well,
we
even before like the COVID perturbation,
Yeah.
So we've kind of given up on VCs, but when we talk to other people, like if you look at our pitch, a lot of it is like, we have one of the best Forex strategy designers in the industry here. We have one of the best CTOs and producers in the industry here. We have one of the best business people in the industry here. Here's the stats that back that up. So if you don't invest in this, you are missing one of the best opportunities you have. And that is cocky as hell.
But you kind of have to be.
You kinda
right?
have to be,
So I think
yeah.
what was it? It was Scott actually was one of the initial like pitches. We practiced with some of our advisors a lot, like to like kind of get the whole cadence down and hand it off. And Scott said after like the first one, he's like, "You guys got to find your like overconfident white male voice and bring it out more." And I was like, "Ah!" And he was like, "No, we're dialing up more."
Yep.
I
Famous
mean,
guy.
I'm not a VC, but like, why do people gamble, right? They're chasing a thrill. And in VC land, they want to feel that they're smart. And so they want to get pitched something where they're like, this is the opportunity and I'm going to get a leg up on all my friends and make the money back. So vanity is maybe like my interpretation of why would anyone invest in a game, because they're going to find the diamond in the rough and they're going to make their mony back, and no one else has that, because they get it, right? Yeah.
And a lot of that does come back. Yeah, and it comes back to team, not the actual idea, because their VCs aren't gamers, and so it is convincing you that the founder team is what they're investing in. It's not the actual product, it's the team. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm wondering, I don't know, because you may not have thought about it yet, but I'm wondering about your thoughts on crowdfunding stuff, just because on paper, it sounds like it should be pitching like investors, but in practice, it feels like pitching to consumers, because they're treating it like a pre-order, even though all of the terms of service say this isn't a pre-order.
It's pre-order. You're absolutely right. We have thought about it. I don't remember exactly when we said we were going to do it, but it's kind of definitely on the schedule of like, yes, because I have run a failed Kickstarter, so I can speak at length about how not to run a Kickstarter. This was back when I was a board game designer. And yeah, it is basically treating it as a marketing beat. You shouldn't be trying to find funding for a project really like from the get-go with it. I mean, I know people do find success that way, but the numbers of that are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're seeing bigger studios now, they are using it as marketing for pre-orders and wish lists. So like, the My Time series does an excellent job with all of their Kickstarters doing that. Simon, the people that we actually did end up publishing with for the board game, they run all their Kickstarters as marketing beats and pre-orders to know exactly how many units they need to make in China, because manufacturing is expensive. But that Kickstarter gives them a really good idea for where they need to put that initial shipment bar. And they've already invested in the product. They're already making it. They're not actually looking to get funding. It's marketing. Yeah, so we will use it for marketing as well at some point. But yeah, not for full project funding. Unless you say otherwise.
No, that's spot on.
Yeah.
And the stats around Kickstarter are that there are roughly the same amount of Kickstarters year over year, but the overall value and the average amount have gone down significantly. So, it's marketing, fundamentally.
Marketing's good. Like, definitely do it if you can. But then, yeah, it's just treat it as a marketing beat.
See a hand in the way back.
So just like as a tangent, there's this other thing called like Start Engine or Start Berry or something that promises financial returns to fans, and it's like, hey, and I don't know how the SEC, like maybe they're just like sleeping or something, but they're getting around that accredited investor rule where it's like, actually because whatever, you can now give us $1,000 and we'll promise to give you 2 hamburgers tomorrow.
Yeah, there's stuff like that. There are starting to be platforms where people can invest their 401ks in. Yeah, exactly. It feels like super skeevy. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and I haven't seen enough of a track record of success, or honestly enough consumer protection that it makes me feel good about those platforms. So like the platforms where people who are not accredited investors, they can essentially buy shares in your company. The games areas of those platforms are kind of meh, and from what I've seen, the only people who have really demonstrated significant success are people with like really, really, really big names who are trying to get back into the industry and haven't been able to find funding in other ways. And some of the platforms where you can, as a normal investor, invest like your 401k and stuff like this, it makes me really, really uncomfortable. And that's
Don't finance your house. If the M&T guy is here, you're wrong. Don't finance your house. I'm going to go on a quick soapbox here. Games are a commercial art. We are making a commercial product that also is art. And a lot of us grew up playing games, and we have these really passionate, fond memories. Like, I tear up when I hear Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger, and I get made fun of by my family. So we really care about games, but you don't have to suffer for your art, right? And someone who's going to make you mortgage your house so you can make your game is exploiting you and building on the trope that you need to suffer to make art. Don't fall prey to that. All right, end rant.
Well, I mean, it does get back to angel investments, right? Like every time we take an angel investment, like I ask myself, am I willing to accept the relationship damage if this person does not get their money back? And it is a hard question to ask. And it does kind of keep me up at night sometimes, frankly. So that is something where, as you think about how you might be raising money for your studio, I would so much rather take a check from an asshole VC where I was not staying up at night worrying about the relationship damage. Unfortunately, VCs are not writing content checks, so that's not the world that we are living in. But as you think about asking friends and family for checks, that is something to keep in mind, because there is no such thing as free money. Every check comes with strings, and you have to be sure that you are willing to accept the strings that come with money. And if somebody wants to take money out of their 401k to invest in your company, are you willing to accept the strings that come with that? For me, I don't know that I would be.
Quick buzzword, content. We said content play.
Yes.
That is a VC term that we should probably explain. Oh no, I don't. I feel like I'm hogging too much. I want to give space.
Explain it.
Okay. As we talked to VCs and we started our journey, and we're like, oh yeah, VCs are just spending money. They're into games, and realizing, oh no, they were, and then they screwed up. The phrase we would get a lot is, we're not investing in content right now. And what that means is they're not investing in individual games or individual game products. What they're looking for, and the reason they're still talking to people in the game space, is they're looking for the next Discord. They're looking for something that's games adjacent, or a tool that they can come in and disrupt, and it's not one particular game that, because they're like, oh, it's hit-based, we don't know what we're doing. They want a tool or a platform. Yeah.
Or AI.
We have feels.
Oh, we got hands.
Okay, I'm curious, how, you're not making the game you want to make, you're making the game that they want you to make, or that they think is going to make the money, right? Like, how much do you think, has your vision shifted, or has your pitch shifted at all as you've done this, or did you find the right
Yes.
What number iteration are we on
Oh
now?
my God. Oh my God.
It's definitely over 50.
I laugh because at one time, very early in my career, very young Jen defined success as having somebody else to do my PowerPoint, and I am so fucking far from success right now.
I think the core of the idea has stayed the same because it was based on that market vision. Like, we all saw the same issue in the market, the same hole in opportunity. And I should use the word opportunity. That is the more pitch-friendly word. That we all saw this, and we're like, we could make something there, and it sounds like something would be fun to work in. Is it my dream game? No. I'm sure you remember what my dream game was. It was Farms of Our Lives, the episodic telenovela dating sim. It's not what we're building. I will still make that game. But no, but it's, finding, and it's always like with design, find something, because that's how I approach it, that, that does sound interesting, that is a challenge to you, but at the end of the day, if you want to be a commercial success, you're always going to be building someone else's title, and it's just finding ways to make it entertaining for yourself.
The game's design hasn't fundamentally changed, because we saw the opening, we agreed on what we wanted to make to fill that opening. How we've presented it and the terminology we use to talk to people about it has changed to reflect what we detect is what people are looking for.
Cozy is verboten. You cannot say that word anymore.
Cannot say
No.
Cannot say cozy.
What do we call cozy now?
Social.
Well, specifically, I mean,
Go.
you said
I'm
no,
going to rant, otherwise it'll go over.
I think rants are more fun, right? Rant.
Well, again, and a lot of it comes back to these people are not gamers. And even when you are talking to publishers, when you say the word cozy, they see a little chibi-ass guy and they think Animal Crossing and they think it looks like an 8-year-old, and they have a very narrow vision of what that means. And also, if you look at like Steam Spy or any of these things, how many cozy games have been released in like the past year or two? Yeah. It's fucking everything is a cozy game now. So if you're a publisher looking for an opportunity, the last thing you want is, what has everyone else done? Well, not that, obviously, because that market is huge. Even, are all these games cozy? Hell no! No, they're not. Like, Dredge is labeled as a cozy game. Think the fucking Eldritch Horror fishing game. I love Dredge. It's not fucking cozy. And then you've got on the other side, like, Tiny Glade. It's like, it's cozy. I guess. Is it a game? Hot take, no it ain't. It's a toy. It's a beautiful toy, but it ain't a game. But if you're a publisher, you're like, well, I see all these cozy titles. So, like, fuck. So, no, we were actively, like people kept saying, stop saying that word. So we did. Yeah. We got far better traction the minute we started calling it a social RPG. So what the fuck does that mean? I don't know. It doesn't matter. It sounds interesting. They're like, that means platform. I'm like, sure it does.
If you're getting hundreds of pitches a month, a week, whatever, you're looking for a reason to say no.
Yes. Yeah.
And what we just discovered is like when you use the like a buzzword, they're like, oh no, there've been a lot of cozy things, and it just shuts down the conversation.
We already have a cozy game in our portfolio.
Yeah. We don't need another one.
What we're making is cozy, but like we're not calling it that because it's just a reason for someone to shut it down.
There was a firm that I worked with that also used the term like interactive media instead of games to kind of like be able to have conversations with kind of like other PCs and stuff. But I did have a question kind of like about marketing efforts and like events. As a team, do you have any KPIs of like when I go to these events, like are you looking for more people to join the Discord? Are you looking for there to be wish list, or kind of like what are your metrics to be? Yeah, this event that we're intending to promote our studio was a success.
One of the things that I do as a biz dev person, which not a lot of biz dev people do, is when we go to an event like DICE or GDC or Gamescom, I like write up this document and I like say, hey, this is what we want to get out of the event, and this is what success looks like. And then I go meeting by meeting, like this is who we're going to meet with, and this is what our goals are, and this is what we're going to talk about. And if it's an event that I know Chris and Michelle haven't been to, like DICE, I'll like kind of do a little like, this is what DICE is, and, like it's like GDC for biz dev people, and blah, 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 blah. And I find it's really helpful for me because it kind of gives me a primer on, oh yeah, this is who we're meeting with, and this is why we're meeting with them. And we do have like KPIs for those events. It's right for this past year, it's been more of like a, hey, these are the meetings you want to have, and this is what we want to come out of it with. But now that we have our Discord up and running, it'll start being more and more like, hey, we want this number of additional.
Good news, we just hit 400.
Yeah! Join our Discord.
KPI reach! Yeah!
And, I think that kind of thing, like, I've seen a lot of really crappy biz dev people in the industry. And so for me, I kind of think of my role as empowering everybody in the company to not only make a great game, but to help everybody in the company succeed. And so prepping Chris and Michelle to be their awesome selves in meetings at DICE and GDC is a really important part of my job.
Those documents are so useful.
Super useful, because otherwise I would have been like, oh, it's my first DICE. We're going to hit the floor, someone's going to hear our pitch, and then they're just going to write a check right then and there.
They used to. That's how it used to work.
But by having this and being like, these are the actual things we want to get out of this conference, it's to establish relationships, it's to have this many callbacks, it's to like get the name out there, like helped mitigate those expectations and not have me be disappointed for something that was actually a success.
So I know you mentioned earlier the ideal number of slides for certain things. Is there a time frame that is ideal? Like, because I know after a certain point, people probably just stop listening. Like they've already determined if they're going to fund you or not.
Yes.
Is there an ideal minimum and or maximum amount of time for a pitch?
So if you are doing biz dev, you should have a 30 seconds or less why people want to have a conversation with you. So like, hey, what are you building? You are in an elevator with like some person who could write you $1 million check right then and there. What are you building? Go. Anybody running a studio here? What's your pitch?
I'm creating right now a Dreidel-based game that's going through the 8 Nights of Hanukkah and battling mythological creatures from Jewish mythology.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Fantastic.
So using the Clay engine?
So this
Oh, it's so cute.
And honestly, it's kind of one of those little nuggets that's
Yeah.
going to be in there. So when you first start off, you got to rotate it a little bit in order to make your dreidel. It used to be called made of clay, and we revamped it to something else.
And that's like having that ready is super, super important. So if I were in an elevator, I would say we're making a social RPG set in persistent private servers where, and what sets us apart is that everything you do has a positive impact on what other people, has a positive impact on the other people you play with. So genre, persistent private servers, what sets us apart? Boom, boom, boom. And you should all have that ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. And then for the follow-up, that's where you should have your 5-minute version. And again, you should assume that for all of the beautiful 12 slides that you will have, somebody reading them is not going to spend more than 5 minutes. And they're probably not going to spend more than 3 minutes. So you have to be ready to distill what is super important about your company. Why you, why this, why now, boom, 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 in 3 minutes or less. And it sucks because you're so passionate about what you're doing. Why you, why this, why now? Done.
I think my favorite quote, I won't give the man's name, but he worked at Krafton, and it was in a pitch. It was for a different company. And we had a pretty short, concise deck, and he was just sitting there looking dead, and just like these little poor shoulders were slumped, and he was sitting there, he's like, I'm going to say, and fast no's are the best. He's like, I just want to say, I love the pitch, I love the energy. This is not a good fit for us, but just thank you, because you didn't say a single word about your lore or your story, and if I hear someone else tell me one more thing about a story, I'm going to stab a screwdriver through my eye. It's just like, you poor man. So it's like, can I buy you a coffee, sir? I feel bad for you. But yeah, so no one wants to hear about all of those things, even though it is important to you, it is a passion. It's just really what Jen said, just distill it down as fast as possible, because these men have been listening, and it's usually dudes, to 50 pitches that day. They are tired, they are grumpy, they want to go to sleep. And so if you start to drone on about things, you've lost them. And you can see their little dead eyes when you've lost them. They're done.
I also want to call out, if you have people who are really good at pitching, no matter what their role is, get them in the room. Michelle, as you can tell, brings amazing energy to her pitches. And we have had pitches where the company has said, you know what, this isn't right for me, but your energy is awesome. We love you.
Yay.
And that's great because, as you all know, people don't stay in the same company, and I guarantee they will remember her. And so for us, giving Michelle the chance to shine is super awesome because she just does bring such amazing energy to the pitches, and it's so great to have her talk about the game. And there are times where, I had at GameSpeak before I came here, I was talking to the head of a publisher. And I was like, I'm not going to send you the deck. I want to have our chief creative officer run through the pitch for your team, because there's no substitute for hearing her go through the pitch, because she's great.
You should all do theater. If you want to do pitching, fucking do theater. It's the best.
Question, looping back to if I hear story one more time, I'll die. So I'm an area designer. I've also done the business side of classes in college. I am good at pitching other people's stuff, but I do know I get passionate about the story part of what I'm writing. How do I temper that in the meeting? And should I work with other people and know if I'm going to be too passionate about the narrative that I'm pitching, should I have someone else pitch? Because I know that I might have that as a weakness I need to work on.
Let me caveat that. We were pitching a strategy game to Krafton. They don't make visual novels. It is so not their thing. But if you were, say, making a visual novel and pitching to visual novel-ish publishers, I would hope they'd want to hear something about your story. That being said, you don't need to tell them the entire life story. So it is kind of back to what Jen said, where it's what about it is unique? What are you bringing to the table that's different? Because anyone who's a good writer can write a good story, but why is yours the one that's worth investing in? And just giving them the 3-arc synopsis ain't probably gonna be that. So what is it that you're doing that is different with that narrative? And then just give them enough of the little back of the box chunks of I guess the back of the book chunks, not the box. We don't have boxes anymore. That. But yeah, so if you are building a narrative-based game, it will be a little bit different. But then you obviously only want to approach those publishers who care about that and understanding that. Go talk to Krafton. That's not the right people.
Thank you very much. This is looping further back, because because all three of you were speaking to experiences in AAA and your individual pathways that led you here. And as a founding team, I'm wondering what your experience was expanding past that and also hiring other AAA devs and how to bring that into a fold.
Every single hire we've had, at least one of us, sometimes multiple of us, have worked with before, so they come pre-vetted. That has allowed us to not have a crazy hiring process and long interviews, and we trust each other's judgment. And those relationships forged in previous companies, you know who you got along with and who is easy to work with,
And you know how they work.
and how they work, and that has I personally believe it allowed us to short circuit a lot of the storming and forming portion of being a startup. We could just go.
Now, that being said, whenever we do scale up, which will be, in the next couple of months, we can't do that anymore. We are going to have to go to a more traditional, I guess start to hit the network of the connections of a connection. I still would be a little leery of hiring just anybody from a cold resume. I'm not against it, but I mean, networking is so vitally important, even for your stuff. If you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, that's at least then a connection. You can talk to the person in advance or get some kind of reference from them.
I think it's helpful too that we have that values and principles document. Yeah. So one of the first things that we did is write a values and principles document, which caused a lot of trauma bonding, which was awesome. But it also kind of gave us a way to talk about what was really important to us. And as founders, that is so key. Because you don't want to find out that one person wants to sell the company and make a lot of money, and the other person wants it to just be a lifestyle business, and the other person's yeah, I'm here for 5 years and I'm not. You don't want that. You want to make sure you're all on the same page in terms of the company you want to build, why you want to build it, how you want to build it. And it gave us a chance to not only make sure we were on the same page, but also to show it to our team and say, look, this is the company, show it to people we're interviewing with. Look, this is the company. If you're not okay with this, if you're not okay with a company that says diversity is important, if you as an engineer are not okay with a company that says tech is always in service to the game, this is not the place for you. And that's all right, but you need to know about this.
The traditional wisdom is you have to be bleeding from your eyes before you hire someone else. Be responsible, have a sustainable lifestyle. But there is truth to being careful. Don't expand too quickly, right? Because your runway is super precious. So using that network of people or people you trust and recommendations to make sure those hires are good are really critical. Because as you expand, you're going to have to go outside of your network. But when you have the luxury of pre-vetting people, use that luxury.
This sounds terrible, and it might be terrible, but because the industry is such a dumpster fire right now, we've been able to have people contract for us for a few months before we've hired them full-time.
I don't think it's terrible. It's kind of like a try before you buy for both parties involved, because it's also, if a lot of times it's people who are already out of work, and so they were looking for contract freelance work. So it's they get a chance to see if it's a good fit for them. We get a chance to see if it's a good fit for us. And we were always transparent about it. Hey, this is a contract position. This is the work, and when it's done, there may or may not be something else. But if it is working out, there is a path potentially to full-time employment.
As long as you're upfront about it.
You have to be transparent.
It should not be presented as hey, so this is probably going to, don't do that. Be upfront, be professional, and if it works out, great, hire them.
And we've had a lot of especially the artists we've contracted with, it was very clearly this is for this body of work. There will likely be a new body of contract work months from now, but it is contract work, and it will only ever be contract work. And if this is okay with you, they're we got this, excellent, let's go.
Yeah. Also, we made the decision we would not accept work for free. We're nope. Yes. Even if it was friends, we're nope.
Because we had a lot of friends offer. It's
no, you get paid. Yeah. That's just not a line. It's in our values document. Yeah. We're not going to cross that. Yeah.
We've delayed people's payments because they asked. That was weird. Okay, that's okay though. When you want to be paid 3 months from now, I'm not asking. Taxes. It was taxes.
Not hearing this.
Allegedly. I mean, alleged taxes.
Until we get an invoice, we can't pay him, so,
He's been paid.
You don't have to tell me what you're going to do, but how far down the road are you planning?
we have a vision slide in our deck which is 2030 and beyond.
Okay.
I love, you should talk about mission site, because you articulated it so beautifully.
Yeah, so obviously I want to make a great game, but if I think about the games that I've loved most that elicit a lot of emotion, it's not just the game, it's the studio. The studio becomes its own brand. You know, like Supergiant, for example, like Supergiant. And so I'm like, I want to be that thing where someone sees the name Dragon Snacks and associates it with a lot of emotion, good times, and memory, and you just know it's good. The example I use in like the movie is 24 AD. Like I'll watch any 24 AD movie because I just know it's got a certain vibe and quality. So I want people, when they want to think of like socializing games, third space, hanging with my friends, good feels, to think of us. And the ultimate, like in the 10 years down, I want like someone to use the verb like I want to snack out, meaning I just want to like play this style of relaxing game in a like virtual third space with my friends. And like that's when we've made it. When we've made enough games that we have this association with positivity that it becomes a verb.
Yeah, and again, it comes back to like you're selling a vision of a team and a founding group and a company. You're not selling a product or a content. And so that's what these people are looking for, is something with those legs on it. Thank you for coming, everybody. There are little postie cards with our Discord QR.